East region in January.
For failing to have blasting time notices in the Bani community in breach of Regulation 193F of LI 2177, Yenyenya and Pobo Taba groups shall be fined a CD equivalent of $10,000.
We have details and a copy of that report as well. Also, NPP and NDC finally resolved their differences, paving way for the historic meeting to resolve threat of party militia as National Peace Council prepares to announce a date and venue for that meeting. Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo reiterates his vow to ensure an end to political party militias, arguing it is a fight that must be won.
Come what may, we will rid our country of some of these phenomena. We don't need it in the new Ghana that we're trying to build, that people use force to determine the politics and the decision-making of our. We don't need it.
And in business, the country's decline in investment rankings by Rand Merchant Bank attributed to delayed reforms and fiscal indiscipline.
And in sports, it's 1-1 between Ghana and Mauritania in an international friendly with about 75 minutes of the game played. We'll bring you updates from the Accra Sports Stadium.
Also in this edition, Parliament's Local Government Committee to meet over Joy News expose into underhand dealings at the Birth and Death Registry to discuss findings.
It is illegal, it is corruption. And so once it has come to our notice through the TV airing, we need to do something about it.
And later,
as we continue our Ghana Man series, we put the spotlight on Akan names with the God factor.
Perhaps gospel singers Esther Nyameche, Uraba Nyameche are reflective of their names.
Well, my name is Evans Mensah.
I am MFA Po.
There's no God factor in there, but there is. Okay, you tell us about that when we the peace of God. Okay, I'll also tell the God factor in Evans Mensah. Join us with your views and comments, especially if you have a God factor in your name. 0244 340437. Details right now.
And news just coming in is that 3 mining companies, that's the Shanxi Mining Ghana Limited, Poptaba and Yenyenya mining companies, have been slapped with a $50,000 fine for breaches that led to the death of 16 illegal miners in Bani in the Upper East region.
Well, in January, a mine explosion occurred on the Shanxi Mining Ghana Limited concession that led to 11 deaths, and the mine was directed to suspend operations. Let's bring in my colleague Latif Idris, has a copy of the report and joins us with details.
So what are the findings in that latest report, Latif?
Okay, so just a quick correction there about the numbers that we're talking about in January 22nd. That's 11 miners. Actually, the number is 16. So 16 illegal miners died in the concession of Shanxi Mining Company, who provides services to Pobataba and Yenyenya Mining Company. Now, what this report has done is to exonerate these 3 mining companies of what came up as speculation when the blast happened, that the company, undertook the blast with a deliberate attempt to poison these illegal miners, and that they knew about the presence of the illegal miners. The report today says that isn't the case, and what happened on the 22nd of January 2019 was purely an accident.
Okay.
But then what the report captures is that Yenyenya Mining Group, Pobataba Mining Group, and Shanxi Mining Ghana Limited shall submit all safe operating procedures to the Minerals Commission for approval by Inspectorate, latest by March 31st, 2019. This is one of the about 25 recommendations that the Technical or Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission came up with, and it was read by the Lands Minister at the Ministry's conference room just moments ago.
For allowing illegal miners to use his illegally dug pit in his compound to assess the underground workings of Yenyenya and Pobo Taba, leading to fatalities, Mr. Kwesi Appiah should be made to face the full rigors of the law. Already he is in the hands of the police for investigation. For appointing a surveyor, number 5, who could not communicate to his patrol team in the language they understood, a breach of Regulation 508 of LI 2182, and in accordance with Section 56 3 of LI 2182, Shanzi Mining Ghana Limited shall be fined the cedi equivalent of $10,000. 6. For failing to have blasting time notices in the Bani community in breach of Regulation 193F of LI 2177, Yenya and Pobo Taba groups shall be fined a cedi equivalent of $10,000. 7. For storing explosives underground without approval by the Chief Inspector of Mines, a breach of Regulation 163 LI 2177, and in accordance with Regulation 56.3 of LI 2182, Shanzi Mining Ghana Limited shall be fined the cedi equivalent of $10,000. 8. For failure to ensure that Code of Safe Work Practice for blasting is approved by an inspector of the commission, a breach of Regulation 515 of LI 2182, and in accordance with Regulation 56.3 of LI 2182, Shanzi Mining Ghana Limited shall be fined the cedi equivalent of $10,000. 9. Shanzi Mining Ghana Limited shall be fined $10,000 for not recording the blast that were undertaken on January 22nd, 2019 in the shift boss logbook, a breach of Regulation 47.10 of LI 2182. Yenya and Pobota mining groups shall ensure that all supervisors working at their mine sites can communicate in a language understood by their crew. Owners of Yeyenya and Pobotaba mining groups shall ensure that they appoint competent persons not later than April 30th, 2019 to oversee the activities of the support service company, Shanzi Mining Ghana Limited, in accordance with Regulation 44 and 45 of LI 2182. 12.
So that's the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources there giving us the latest. That's the details of a report leading to 3 mining companies being slapped with $50,000 fine for breaches that led to the death of 16 illegal miners in Bani in January this year.
And when we have the additional on this, we get reactions from the mining companies. We'll bring that to you here on News Night. Latif, thank you very much. Now, the 2 main political parties have finally resolved their differences, paving way for that historic meeting to resolve the threat of party militia.
Now, this follows a letter written by the General Secretary of the NPP, John Bwedu, to the National Peace Council agreeing to NDC's call to allow the Peace Council to mediate the process. Now, though the NPP expressed unhappiness over the NDC's refusal to set a date and venue for the meeting last week, the party, however, stated its willingness to make the necessary compromise to help find a lasting solution to party militias.
We have exclusive copies of these letters. Really, this is just part of our campaign to disband party militias now. We have a copy of the letter that the Peace Council has written, and we have a copy of the letter that the NPP also has written in reply to that of the NDC. And really at the heart of this, which is really a great progress, is that finally they have resolved their differences. And the Peace Council notes in this letter.
So this letter is signed by the Acting Executive Secretary of the Peace Council, George Amo, and it says that I have been directed by the Chairman of the National Peace Council, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, to inform you that we have received a letter dated 25th March 2019 from the New Patriotic Party on the above-mentioned subject matter. The New Patriotic Party have agreed to your suggestion that the National Peace Council should be the mediator of the meeting between the National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party to disband political vigilante groups. The chairman wants to assure you that the National Peace Council would follow up with a schedule for the planned engagement in our earliest convenience.
Okay, and this is signed by George Amo, who is the acting executive secretary. And in fact, in the letter that the NPP wrote to the Peace Council and copied to the NDC as well, they fundamentally agreed that we should have a mediator, but they added some concerns of theirs as well. And one of the key concerns is that they didn't really have a problem with having a mediator as such as the Peace Council. But they say that they were not sure the nature of the mediation, the extent of the stakeholder engagement, and which stakeholders should be invited, especially because the NDC, also suggested that some international organizations, including ECOWAS and AU, be involved, and that they say was their main concern.
Okay.
They also note that in the midst of this uncertainty, they indicated to the NDC, of course, in the official invitation letter, which we brought to you a couple of weeks back, that the two political parties should meet first, which is the NPP's position, meet first and agree on the modalities for these engagements. They also, in the spirit of goodwill, and this is all according to the NPP letter, gave the NDC the option of choosing a venue and deciding on the day or in the course of last week for the preliminary meeting, which will, in the hope of the NPP, will then agree on who is a mediator, who else to invite to participate in the meeting. Now, the NPP in this letter says, and quote, regrettably, they never got back to us on the issue of date and venue as we requested. Now, that is because the NDC chose to go directly to the Peace Council and copy the NPP and informing the NPP that we have written to the Peace Council to rather set the date and the venue. They also say that in the stead, they wrote back to us, which is the indication of informing that they've already written to the Peace Council. But most importantly, it says, while this appears to be inconsistent with our request, the NPP is nonetheless willing to make the necessary compromise in relation to the party's initial position on the matter and accordingly avail itself for your direction. And for your direction, there is the Peace Council's direction. Okay. And he ends by stating that the NPP once again wishes to state that it has absolute confidence in the National Peace Council to competently assume the role of moderator in these deliberations and to help find lasting solution to the national malice of party vigilantism. And this is signed by John Boydu, General Secretary, and is copied to the President, in fact, the President of the Republic, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And so that is where we are in this campaign that we started with you, our listeners. The NDC and NPP finally resolving their the differences, and the Peace Council said they're going to set the date and time.
But is it clear whether the Peace Council and the NPP now have also agreed to the NDC's call for an expansion of the scope of this particular meeting?
Yes, I mean, now they are bringing a mediator, so that in itself, it's beyond the two parties meeting. Okay. And once they sit to discuss, and the mediator is a Peace Council, of course, the first meeting which NPP has suggested would then agree on who else to bring in. Because in the last letter that the NDC wrote, they themselves sort of narrowed in on a mediator and sort of also agreed that let the mediator be part of the first meeting and then let's be part of, together, the three of them, decide who else to bring in to assist. And at this point, they don't disagree on expanding the conversation. It's just about meeting first. The disagreement was, should we have a mediator at the first meeting? I think now that has been settled. So that meeting will happen, and the first meeting we assume they then do decide on.
So we wait for the date and the venue,
and then that will proceed. But there are other agencies who are already speaking out and trying to get the parties to do exactly what we now know they are set to do.
And that's the NCC. You know, they've been at the forefront of disbanding party militias. And the chairperson of the NCC, Josephine Nkrumah, who wants the party to cease trading of letters, that's what she's saying, and show some real commitment to resolve the threat of party militias.
Well, I think for NCC, we hold the considered view that this is a matter of urgency, and therefore would like to see the parties perhaps treat it with a little more urgency than we're seeing. And of course, The back and forth in terms of correspondence does not really augur well to gathering momentum on resolving the issue. So would like to see real concrete measures and real steps taken by the parties coming together, sitting down with stakeholders and finding a lasting solution to this problem. So yes, we also have a worry there in that we are not seeing real action, but rather trading of letters back and forth between the two political parties.
I mean, can one therefore conclude that it's lack of commitment on the part of these political parties to really disband their militias?
Well, I wouldn't say it's lack of commitment.
Well, we now know, MFA, that we have gone past that now with the letters that we've now seen. The parties, I think there's no doubt now they have a commitment.
But not entirely, though, because we've seen this trading of letters for some time now.
No,
and we are hoping, it's stopped now.
But
we don't have the date and the venue. So
no,
that's,
but
at least until the first meeting, we can safely say Council, that we are on course to disbanding party.
The thing about that, though, that is important to note is that it's now out of the hands of the two parties. Mm-hmm. The Peace Council has assumed the role of fixing the date and the time. So if you don't trust the parties, it's not in your hands.
The National
exactly.
Peace
And
okay.
you see the MPP's letter. They say they have absolute confidence that the Peace Council can do this. The NDC obviously have absolute confidence as well. And they are willing. They're waiting to hear time, dates, and they'll meet and talk.
Okay. But meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo, who proposed this meeting, has reiterated his vow to ensure an end to political party militias. Addressing the Ghanaian community in Malta on the first day of his 2-day state visit to the Mediterranean nation, the president said there are many challenges that the country is battling, which includes the phenomenon of political violence. President Akufo-Addo argues violence has no space in Ghana's politics.
The years going ahead, because if we are able to project that discipline, the benefits to us are going to be very rapid and very dramatic. And that transformation of our national economic structure, which is what all of us are waiting for, will be very, very soon around the corner. That we have a lot of challenges in our country. You know, the political issues that are there, this phenomenon of vigilantism and all of that. These are worrying matters, but matters that I'm determined we should bring under control. Come what may, we will rid our country of some of these phenomena. We don't need it in the new Ghana that we're trying to build, that people use force to determine the politics and the decision-making of our life. We don't need it. We have to have a country whereby decisions are taken on the basis of the force of argument and the quality of the presentations that are made by the various political actors in the state. I believe that if we all of us agree that that is the way forward, these unpleasant phenomena that we've been witnessing in our country in recent times will also be brought under control.
You heard the President Akufo-Addo speaking in faraway Malta.
Let's bring in a Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Peter Tokuno joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Tokuno, I'm grateful for your time. Finally, the NDC and the MPP have resolved their differences, and you're looking forward to this meeting?
Certainly, Evans. Now we can breathe a sigh of relief and see an end in sight to this deadly menace that has engulfed our politics. We take gratification from the letter from the National Peace Council, and we would really commend them for taking up the task. In the earlier letter, they indicated that they were ever ready, and it falls within their mandate. So it was based on that inspiration that got us to write to them last week. And we think that the positive indication they gave us in the letter dated 25th is very, very good for us. And we have also taken notice of the MPP's letter to the National Peace Council. And we take delight in their current position to allow for some form of mediation into these discussions. We think that the involvement of the National Peace Council and other mediators and stakeholders will engender some level of confidence and trust in the discussions. And we are very hopeful that as a people, we can together work hard to get rid of this party militias from our body politic. Ghana benefits and Ghana becomes stronger. Our democracy becomes stronger. We are looking at a country where, our democracy becomes so resilient to any form of threat from activities of party actors or political actors. And that is what we have been working towards all this while. And we are happy that we are getting close. We just hope that these discussions, whilst we are doing it, the president would also be considering the little advice we sent to him last week, perhaps maybe issuing some form of presidential instrument or executive instrument to disband this vigilante group. So while the discussion is ongoing, then we would be having some security operations in that regard to, disarm and dismember or demobilize these existing groups across the country. We think that will really help. Then when the discussions is concluded, the conclusions and the recommendations that will be made may form a very solid foundation for the Attorney General as well to constitute as a formidable legislation that will help to outlaw this vigilante group and a party militia once and for all.
All I can say is that we look forward to that meeting, seeing you at that table, talking peace and disbanding these militia groups. And listen, MFI, this is one of those stories that you can't afford to be skeptical about. You have to be optimistic. Okay. It's rare in this country where politics is so divisive to have the parties get to this point. I honestly at one point thought we'll never get here.
Exactly.
Because of the position this is taking.
I still have my doubts, but
I
can't afford to express those doubts.
My only comfort is that it's out of the hands of the two parties.
Exactly.
That's where we started, when the president said the two parties. Now it's out of the hands of the two parties. It's a peace council's hands to even decide venue and time and mediate.
I look forward to that very first meeting, and then I'll know what the two parties bring to the table, whether they still have some concerns they hope
No, they definitely will have concerns. Okay. And they've said it already. NDC, in the letter that NPP wrote, they said they have concerns. But the thing is, once you start talking, you will find that you can find solutions and middle grounds to try and make concessions. And remember, listen, this is a part of our campaign that we've been on with you. We never thought we'd get here. It's been almost 2 months since the president gave that directive. Finally, we got here. Remember, hashtag disband party militias now.
We want you to know that if you don't disband private criminal militia groups, we will not vote for you because we are scared.
The time has come for us as a political class to say that this development is not good for the future of this country.
The NPP has been guilty, the NDC has been guilty in terms of these groups. And so both the NDC and the NPP will have to find a way of engaging the base of our parties.
The NCC will continue to condemn, name and shame all political parties who endorse, support and/or identify themselves with any of these groups until these groups are disbanded, word and in deed.
If voluntary disbandment by the parties is not feasible, then I will initiate legislation in the matter.
Joy News, God bless you. If you were not there, Nana Akufo-Addo today will not be making noise about how to disband vigilante groups. We salute you, Joy.
Here's what people are saying about the GCB Easy Pick.
It just makes sense.
It just makes sense.
It just makes sense.
It just makes sense.
Yes,
saving makes a lot more sense now. GCB Bank will pay for anything you buy from phones, TVs, air conditioners, generators, solar equipment to roofing sheets from any GCB partner shop. And you can pay back later at a reduced price of up to 25% in discounts. Simply walk into any GCB partner shop, pick up what you want at a GCB discount price and fill a form. GCB will pay for you so you can pay back later in installments. Go, get it sooner, get it cheaper, pay later. GCB Easy Pick, it just makes sense. Terms and conditions apply.
GCB Bank, your bank for life. This is what you've been waiting for. The internet experience you've been dreaming about. Welcome to Vodafone's Gigabit Net. Music, pictures, and large documents downloaded in seconds. Lessons from your favorite online masterclass streamed right into your bedroom. Video calls with friends anywhere in the world. Be part of the real 4G experience on Vodafone's Gigabit Net at amazing speeds and seamless connectivity. With Vodafone's Gigabit Net, it's not downloading, it's downloaded. It's not sending, it's sent. It's not buffering, it's streaming. Switch to Vodafone and get the real 4G experience on Ghana's only Gigabit network. The future is exciting. Ready?
Thank you, folks. On my A list today, show some love for contractor EB. So, contractor, what do you think about the country's changing skyline?
Oh, send them down there, Shayuma. Across skyline, they change you, papa.
Wow. Contractor, don't you get worried when you hear of buildings collapsing?
I'm not for an swan on Tassam. It is the likability of using low quality product.
Please explain why.
Yeah, cement is no quality on your gasem. Village of Fefu. It was built with gasem. Says the gasem they all construction. Osi ho pumping. She N1 Kejite Market. Kotokana Kumasi Airport. Cape Coast Stadium. Atrabu gas project in na. Gasebo. Messi what the quality. You know what is quality?
Gasem, 3 cement grades, greater value. Gasem, the nation builder.
And you're so live on News Night. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Evans Mensah.
I am Emefa Apo. And if you own a motorbike, you may not be able to use it after 9 p.m. Do you own a motorbike?
I don't own a motorbike. Maybe I want to start an Okada business, and that's where maybe I'm a bit caught, because the Deputy Minister of Transport, Titus Glover's proposal for a total ban on the use of motorbikes after 9 p.m. is upheld, and of course I can't start that business. Though there is a ban in place on the use of motorbikes for commercial purposes, the trade is still very rife across the country. According to Deputy Transport Minister Titus Glover, these motorbikes are largely used for criminal activities, and a ban on its use after 9 p.m. is a sure way of minimizing motorbike-related crimes. He spoke to the media on the sidelines of a consultative forum on the use of motorbikes.
The criminals use motorcycles a lot in crime. So I suggested to the IGP he can take it at his level with his team and do a pilot. We can start from Greater Accra, that at a particular time in the night, between 9 to 10 p.m., no motorcycle should be seen on the roads. Between 9 to 10 p.m., no motor should be seen on the road for the sake of crime prevention. That is what I suggested to the IGP. Any motorcycle that we see around that time to the next morning should be arrested and find out why he's riding at that odd time. I think that it is high time we look at these criminals and the activities within the country. Look at what happened in Kumasi in the NDC headquarters. Innocent man, because of politics. The criminals, the murderers, rode on a motorcycle. So I think that it is high time we look at some of these things and to make sure that we assist the police with intelligence, with information to some of these criminals and the things that they do.
So that's the Deputy Transport Minister, Titus Glover's proposal. Now, some motorbike riders have been
commercial motorbike,
okay, commercial
AKA
motorbike
Okada.
riders. Okay,
yeah?
They've been sharing their thoughts with us on this proposal.
Because the way our boys.
It is good because there are lots of thieves around.
It's not fair.
For most of us, by 6 p.m., we have gotten our wages and something to eat, and we park our motorbikes. If government wants to ban riding Okada after 9 p.m., then we agree with them.
I think it's not a good idea. The reason why I say it's not a good idea, how will you know this person is an Okada rider? Maybe I'm not working at that moment. Maybe I'm going to another place to transact another business, but you tell me, say if I'm riding a royal bike, it means I'm an Okada rider. You think they are talking about the Okada work, they can ban it after 9. But it doesn't mix after 9. We shouldn't ride our bikes around.
I think that 9 o'clock is good ladder to close 9 o'clock.
Why?
Some people then take the motor, they have to take and do bad things like that. If you say 9 o'clock, I accept like that, yeah.
The 9 o'clock closing is not advisable because sometimes most of the traffic is in town. And somewhere like from Malam Junction going, all the place is being choked. So 9 o'clock going is not advisable. So what I can advise the government for him to be encouragement in it, that fine, he can bring something like paying tax.
True, in this Okada riders, we have innocent people.
And people too are using this kind of Okada for armed robbery and snatching people's bag and those kind of things. So as the minister is saying that maybe by 9 o'clock, all the Okadas can be banned by that time. And I support him a lot. But just me, I want the extension due to where some people are coming from and are staying, you know, maybe a car cannot reach the place and maybe it's only the Okada that can go there. So I'm just pleading to him that he can extend the time for it.
So you hear there's some motorbike riders on their concern about that proposal.
And you're still live here on Newsnight. Still ahead, Parliament's local government committee to meet over Joy News expose into underhand dealings at the birth and death registry, and they'll be discussing findings.
It is illegal, it is corruption. And so once it has come to a notice through the TV airing, we need to do something about it.
So we'll get to hear from anti-graft body Citizen Movement Against Corruption demanding prosecution of individuals identified charging unapproved fees from applicants.
And later, as we continue our Ghana Man series, we put the spotlight on account names with a God factor.
Perhaps gospel singers Esther Nyameche, Uraba Nyameche are reflective of their names.
And MFA has the God factor in her name. George.
How are you, George?
We are fair. You have nothing like that in your name.
I don't have any name.
No,
but,
actually, no wonder.
But maybe my kid will be Nyamibeche and
you should. You should, because you've seen your life and you realize that it's important for your child to have it.
Another Nyamibeche.
Yeah, it's important. No wonder. Thank you very much, George, for acknowledging that your fan needs that to be better than you. What do you have in the headlines?
Well, Evans, the city's first rate of recovery slows down as it loses ground for the second day running against the dollar. Now it's selling at 5 Ghana cedis 30 pesos, and the country's decline in investment rankings by Rand Merchant Bank attributed to delayed reforms and fiscal indiscipline. The business news on Newsnights is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you?
It's your day off and you end up looking after the baby while your wife goes off to work. You realize you have no idea how to change a diaper. So you video call your wife.
Hello, darling.
Hello?
Kojo, is everything all right?
Everything is not all right. I'm not seeing Topo. How do I change a baby's diaper, please?
Kojo. Okay, first, put the diaper.
The video call freezes. While you wait for the internet to catch up, the baby sprouts a fountain and wets the diaper. As you are getting a new one, your wife comes back online.
Kojo, no. Why did you leave Abeko alone on the bed?
But I had to go and get a new diaper. What must I do next? I beg, quick.
Open the front of the diaper. It's the side that has...
Wow, look, the video freezes again. Abba. By now, you know where the conversation is going. There's no buffering in real life, so why accept it from your internet connection? Get connected and experience ultra-fast internet to your home, powered by MTN Fiber Broadband. We're there for you, everywhere you go.
Let us help you bank with the right bank. At First National Bank, we're more than just a bank. We're a digital partner that actually understands your business. Enjoy massive value with our various banking solutions. Get a business check account, a day-to-day transactional account for all businesses from all sectors of the economy. Access our online banking enterprise and bank your way 24/7. Invest with our short or long-term options that enable immediate access to funds. Optimize your cash flow, raise capital, and acquire assets with ease with our lending solutions. Trade with speed, consistency, and innovation with our global payments and forex solutions. With so much value up for grabs, there is no reason not to bank with First National Bank. First National Bank. How can we help you?
We give you nothing but the best. We stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Honey, I need to get some.
But I don't have cash on me. Let me get some fuel quickly and let's go.
And how are you going to get the fuel? I thought you said you didn't have cash on you. What is this one?
My Puma card.
All it takes is a card. The Puma card allows you to buy fuel cash-free from all Puma energy filling stations. You can use your Puma card with any Visa points of sale and ATM across the country. The Puma card also works on mobile money. You get amazing discounts when you fill up with your Puma card. So register for free and get your Puma card instantly at any Puma filling station.
And you only got one for yourself, eh?
Yeah, well, I have had that piece of mind.
Oh, thank you, honey.
And where are you going?
I'm getting something from the shop real quick. I need to test the card.
Puma card. Cash-free convenience.
If money no be problem, or you've caught the virus of success, then this party is for you. SC Connect Garden Party is a unique blend of fun, music, and good food. Come connect while having the time of your life with talents like Sonic at the Polo Grounds as we network and enjoy the community of SC Mobile. To get an invite to this party, simply download the SC Mobile digital banking app, activate and fund your account with a minimum of 200 Ghana cedis. The SC Connect Garden Party is happening on Saturday, 30th of March. Pick up your tickets at the Polo Grounds before then. It's gonna be awesome. You can't miss out. Visit the app or Play Store now and hashtag Be Unstoppable. Call our Client Care Center toll free on 0800-740-100 on all networks or email digitalbanking.gh@sc.com. Standard Chartered. Here for good. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the country's decline in where to invest in Africa rankings is due to delays in business reforms and fiscal indiscipline. Now, that's according to the latest Rand Merchant Bank, where it just talked about where it's good to do business in Africa. The report showed that Ghana dropped by 4 places to 9th when it comes to the top 10 countries to invest in Africa put together by the Rand Merchant Bank. Celeste Falconer is a research analyst with Rand Merchant Bank.
You must look at countries that came from a very low base, and that is Rwanda as an example. So any type of movement they did move them up the rankings quite quickly. So they came from a low base. Where Ghana has had a stable base of governance, strong political stability, democracy, and in some sense one of the easier business environments in Africa. To improve in the rankings, we will need to do a little bit more to boost the efforts, but it is simple changes that can be made. Even though we must make more changes, it's simple to make. And it's for tax reforms, whether it's enhancing revenues via tax reforms, moving your informal sector into the formal sector, whether it's decreasing your taxes or your duties at your ports. There's so many small things that a government can do, especially Ghana, to push them back up those rankings.
Celeste Falconer is an analyst with Rand Merchant Bank based in Johannesburg, South Africa. Meanwhile, government has been responding to these rankings. Kojo Pon Nkrumah is Minister for Information.
Moving on, reforms must also be in very significant areas. If you look at the Nigerian detail, for example, the forex issue is one issue that is very significant within the body of reforms. And when you tackle that alone, it kind of has a way of pushing you further than others. So in terms of our reforms moving forward, we have to tackle some of the very significant issues. And our reforms also have to be benchmarked with what others are doing, or benchmarked to what others are doing. Else you can be of the view that you are reforming, others will outpace you, and you might come out, slipping from 5 to 9, and it may look like you haven't done much. And so you need to benchmark as well.
Information Minister Kojo Pon Nkrumah speaking at the 4th First National Bank Economic Business breakfast meeting that was held this morning at the Mervinpeg Hotel. Now, the city's fast rate of recovery is slowing. Now, this is based on movement on the forex market over the past 2 days. The local currency, which recovered strongly against the dollar, selling last week at around 5 Ghana cedis. However, as on Monday, it depreciated slightly, and the trend continued today, now selling at around 5 Ghana cedis, 30 pesos. In a related development, Rand Merchant Bank is forecasting an end-of-year rate of 5 Ghana cedis, 30 pesos, 20 pesos, against the local currency. Celeste Falconer is an analyst with Rand Merchant Bank.
Yes, towards the end of the year, we start seeing seasonal factors play a part again, like before the festive season, that will put some pressure on the cedi. We have a view of 520 at the end of the year. This was our view in January before the volatility started, and we were thinking, should we change our view? We thought we'll play it out because we really felt that the currency will come back, and then that there are avenues that the central bank can use to tap into the market and help the cedi. So even though 520, it is just a number in the ether, you don't know if it's going to get there, but we project some stability, strengthening, and then some weakening towards the end of the year.
Celeste Falconer is an analyst with Rand Merchant Bank. Now, the World Bank has hinted that Ghanaian entrepreneurs would benefit from a $4 billion investment in Africa this year. According to the bank, this is part of its human capital project for this year. While visiting World Bank President, that is Afan Ghanim, spoke at the launch of the African CSO and Parliamentary Development Dialogue Series to engage some key civil society organizations around some major priority areas in the continent.
We at the World Bank have been looking at what we call the Human Capital Index. This is an index which shows the level of human capital development in any country. And all of our African countries are come up at the bottom in terms of very low human capital indices. We started looking at the details. Why are we doing so poorly on human capital? And I find some numbers are very, very worrisome. We have very high maternal mortality rates. We have very high child mortality rates. We have, what is very scary, very high stunting rates, nearly 40% on average in the continent.
The event also featured the launch of a report on unlocking the potential of women businesses in Africa. Second Lady Samira Baumia also spoke at the event and talked about the impact of this on Ghanaian women.
I'm passionate about empowering women and girls, especially when it relates to education. Educated women tend to be more productive and contribute to better socioeconomic and political decision making. And as Hafiz alluded to, the free SHS policy, even though it's not discriminatory, but it offers women and girls the opportunity to go to school. So it becomes a leveler. So in those communities where girls are sacrificed, free SHS is there to support those girls. Because if the family has to make a decision, we don't have enough money to send our children to school. Now we have a policy it would allow for, the girl who would otherwise be sacrificed to go to school.
Second Lady Samira Baumia speaking at the World Bank launch of the potential of women businesses in Africa to the stock market. And if you are a shareholder of Carl Bank, some good news for you, because the value of each share held went up by 4 pesos and it's now worth 1 Ghana cedis, 8 pesos. EcoBank was also up by 7 pesos and is now selling at 8 Ghana cedis, 3 pesos. Now, Enterprise Group saw the biggest appreciation at the end of trading today, up by 15 pesos. So each share is now worth 2 Ghana cedis, 24 pesos. And that's all for Business on Newsnight.
George, last week when we got word that the IMF has given us the all clear to exit the program, there were concerns from experts, and I know you spoke a lot of people who expressed a concern that now that we're exiting, in fact, the former finance minister also has the same concern, that we may be back to the IMF again because we will lose a discipline. President Akufo-Addo has been addressing those critics. This is what he's been saying today.
So we are now on our own. But I think being on our own, there's something very, very important that all of us have to learn from the experience of the last IMF program. And that is this. In the 60 years of our independence, our last IMF program was the 16th time we had gone to the International Monetary Fund for a bailout because our public finances could no longer stand the strain of mismanagement. 16 times in 60 years. And it is about a fundamental and a basic matter that all of us Ghanaians have to bear in mind. Discipline in the management of our public finances.
Now, President Akufo-Addo also expressed some concerns about what he describes as the lack of protection for the rights of Ghanaians and other Africans arrested for entering Europe illegally. An analysis of recent data by United Nations and the Missing Migrants Project shows that over the last 6 months, 28 of every 1,000 migrants died undertaking the boat journey over the Mediterranean. Those who are arrested are inhumanly treated and deported. President Akufo-Addo, who is on the state visit to Malta, says the rights of the migrants must be respected at all times.
The age-old problems of migration. We've known migration has been a very positive influence in many parts of the world and in critical times in the history of mankind. Today it's become a very sensitive matter, and our attitude in Ghana is that we want to create the conditions that will make our country and our economy attractive to our young people so that they can see their future in Ghana rather than this hazardous undertaking that some of them have been forced into, crossing the Sahara.
Now, the president of Malta has a response. Marie-Louise Cholera Preka said her country is ready to adopt peaceful strategies to deal with the issue of migration.
Memorandum of Understanding on Air Services, the Memorandum of Understanding on Medicine, the Memorandum of Understanding on Tourism and Culture, and the Visa Waiver Agreement on Diplomatic Passports. Furthermore, I'm pleased that during our meetings this morning, President Akufo-Addo and myself, accompanied by our respective delegations, discussed a variety of sectors of mutual interest, including trade, pharmaceuticals, ICT, tourism, aviation, and blockchain technology, amongst others, that there is the necessary political will to enable our respective private sectors and government authorities to explore innovative initiatives from which both of our countries can benefit. Malta believes that a united global perspective in the area of migration is of paramount importance. Such a perspective must be rooted in solidarity among the countries of Europe and Africa and the effective implementation of the Joint Valletta Action Plan. The processes of Rabat and Khartoum have been instrumental to achieve a more united perspective.
That's the president of Malta.
And you're listening to Newsnight. Let's do some sports now, and we can bring in my colleague who has the very latest, Hans Mensah Ando. Hello, Hans.
Hello, Evans. And of course, the Black Stars of Ghana, they have been in action at the Accra Sports Stadium in an international friendly, played against Mauritania. And we'll be linking up with Benedict Osudankwa to get more.
So that's coming up in sports shortly, and we'll bring you the details because of that exciting game that we'll hear about. But the local government committee in Parliament has served notice of meeting over Joy News expose into underhand dealings at the Birth and Death Registry to discuss findings of the investigation. Now, this comes on the heel of reports of the Registrar of Birth and Death Registry at the WA, Francis Kupo, may have diverted over 220,000 cedis of monies meant for registration of childbirths in deprived districts into his private account.
Now, that's according to the Auditor General's report. That's a 2016 report. Joy News' Kwetenate reports that the amount was released for registration of 10,000 childbirths in deprived districts in the Upper West region.
Charging unapproved fees is not the only malfeasance workers of the Birth and Death Registry have been involved in. The Auditor General, in its 2016 report, found out that the Registrar of WA Births and Deaths Registry, Francis Kupo, diverted over 220,000 cedis of state funds into his private account.
Our review of the registry's records revealed that the registrar failed to lodge a total revenue of 224,760 Ghana cedis into the approved bank account. Plan Ghana, an NGO, on January 25, 2015, released the amount for registration of 10,000 childbirths in deprived districts in the Upper West region. The registrar, Mr. Francis Kupo, failed to issue official receipts for the fees and rather lodged the amount into a private welfare at the National Investment Bank, WA.
Again, the Auditor General found bank transfers of over 175,000 cedis by the Secondary Birth and Death Registry into an HFC bank account.
Our review of revenue records and bank statements disclosed that a total revenue of 175,860 cedis collected by the registry between March 16, 2016 and September 1, 2016 was paid to HFC Bank Limited, Takrade. However, management could not provide evidence to support the transfer of the said amount into the Consolidated Fund bank account.
So, excerpts of Paper Citizen, that latest Joy News documentary. We can hear from the chairman of the local government community, William Kwetu, and he says that the charging of unapproved fees and illegal, unapproved fees that are illegal, he says that it's a serious breach of their standard procedure.
We take certain information that we see on certain media as also being official. We have seen this on TV and other media stations. But to say that officially someone has written to us reporting of what that agency, the birth and death agency, is doing, I would say no. But once we have seen it as a news item, as a committee, we cannot sit and say that, well, it was just on TV. So we close our ears and minds to it. And so our intention is, having seen it on TV, more or less aired on national media. We intend to invite the person who wrote the story to come and brief the committee. And based on the findings, we'll know what next steps to take.
Why is this important?
Whoever did the story saw this as being important. Someone wants to go and do birth certificate or do death certificate, and you have to pay a certain X amount of money before getting it done. It is illegal. It is corruption. And so once it has come to our notice through the TV airing, we need to do something about it. And that is the essence of Parliament.
Well, co-chair of Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Adam Senanu, has joined calls for the prosecution of individuals identified charging unapproved fees from applicants.
Absolutely unacceptable that we have a situation where those entrusted with the responsibility of keeping track of births and deaths and providing certificates that will give us an informed statistical sense of the numbers in the country, which can then be used for planning and budgeting, are, as it were, undermining the progress of this nation by granting other national certificates that they do not deserve. What it then means is that national statistics cannot be relied on. People who do not deserve to benefit from the national cake are likely to be benefiting. And when they engage in crimes that affect all of us, whether nationally or internationally, we as a nation are embarrassed as a result of actions of people who should know better. It's a very sad situation, and I think that there are criminal undertones that ought to be properly investigated.
What do you want to see done?
I think that whichever mafia or cartel is involved in this should be busted. They should face the full rigors of the law. And not just that. Some effort to retrieve certificates and passports that have been derived as a result of this ought to be made. We should not take it lightly and just look at the sense of we are punishing, giving retribution to those who have erred and engaged in such practice.
So you heard there, Adam Senanu. Let's do sports now. Hans Mensa Anjo.
MFR, how are you doing?
Once again, I'm doing well.
Great.
Hans.
So the Black Stars of Ghana have beaten Mauritania by 3-1 in an international friendly, which is the first as we prepare for AFCON 2019. You know, Ghana has had to wait 37 long years without an African Cup of Nations title. So we are hoping that 2019 is going to be our year. The game ended some 25 minutes ago, and Joy Sports editor Redwan Ibrahim Asante is on the line to give us more updates on that one. Hello, Redwan.
Yes, Hans.
Red, what can you tell us about the game apart from the scoreline?
I don't think something changed. The value is still the same. We still have to talk about the quality of play. It wasn't high in quality, even when Kwesi Appiah decided to make 9 changes. Those on the fringes didn't come to help at all against Mauritania. And with all due respect to Mauritania, they are not a side that you have to dig very, very deep to beat. But maybe we have a fair distribution of power now on the continent, and we have to respect all other teams that have qualified for the tournament. But in summary, it wasn't the best of showpiece you like to see from the Black Stars. But when the second half began and the coach made substitutions, that was when, we had the Black Stars come back, and 2 quick goals was all they needed to divide the 2 sides. And it was a Cuban who came off the bench once again, just at the start of the second half, replaced Kwesi Appiah. Kwesi Appiah scored the first goal from the spot, a penalty. And then we had Mauritania equalizing 3 minutes into the second half. Beautiful free kick. Goalkeeper Atizigi was completely beaten. And then we had the 2 goals from a Cuban with a header, and then Thomas Partey, firing from close range.
Now, we saw a few of the local players who were invited to be a part of the squad featuring in this game. But what can you tell us about their performance?
For right back, Amos Frimpong, I think, nerves were jangling before the start. It was his debut. Talk about him being evicted from Kotoko because he put up, he's not impressive and aging as well at the club. He stayed there for a very long time. All these might have played a part, and you can see that he was a bit nervous from the first half. The second half, he got into his group, and when Felix Annan came on and also Kwame Bonso came on as well, you could see that he was back to his confidence base, and he could do just the simple things that is, pass and play, stop, pause, pass, and then run.
Right, thank you very much, Redwan from the Accra Sports Stadium. Black Stars of Ghana beating Mauritania by 3-1. That's your sport.
Hans, thank you very much. Hans Mensah.
Do you have a God factor in your name?
Is there God factor in your name?
Is there what?
God factor.
What is that?
What's your local name?
Mensah. Kobna Mensah.
Kobna Mensah.
Yeah.
Is there a God factor in Kobna? Kobna is what? What day is that?
Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no God factor.
Please teach him. MFA.
What's
what does
MFA is a piece of God.
Oh,
That's
okay.
It. That's it right there.
Right.
You have none in your
I
name.
don't know.
You intend on giving one to your son or your daughter?
My son is also known as Kobna, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kobna Jr.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. That's Hans Mensah without a God factor, by the way. There's a good news story that came out of the Western region today.
And I've been excited the whole day.
The story I've been bringing you about the
1-year-old boy,
who was stolen.
Mausi. He was stolen 4 days ago, and he was found today and reunited with the family. And you've been wanting to find out what Mausi is, right?
Yes.
God is in it.
Okay.
It's in God's hands.
It's in God's hands.
Yes.
And the irony of that is the suspect in the case is also called Mausi. But yes, if it's in God's hands.
But a bigger God spoke.
Absolutely. And this little 1-year-old truly was in God's hands, was delivered into the hands of the mother after the police mounted a search. And that's why today, as part of our Ghana Man series, we are focusing on names with the God factor. LabFM's Kwesi Deborah looks at some Akan names that have just that.
Nyameche. The name Nyameche makes one great and prominent. The name Nyameche confers goodness on the bearer. The person looks at the name and leads a good life.
And those were the expectations of a mother for a son 36 years ago.
When I got pregnant, she says, I had lots of complications and I thought I wouldn't get him. After delivery, however, everything was fine. My husband insisted he was named after his father, but I opted for Nyameche, meaning God's gift. He's grown up now and working. I wish he became upright and great by dint of his name. The practice of naming children after deities is as ancient as the stars and the planets. Akan spiritual names such as Akwesi for Sunday born was derived from the deity or what Akans call Obosom Awusi, meaning the sun. Wednesday born Kwaku from Wuku, meaning the planet Mercury. It was believed the deities which rule these celestial bodies would confer special gifts and qualities on the bearer. Nana George Apia is a lecturer at the Department of Modern Languages of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
Many names that you hear among the accounts like Tigale, Nyama, and those things are all names that are given to them to show appreciation to those deities who assisted them in one way or the other to have children when they were in dire need of them. Coming to the names that are associated with Almighty God, it's unfortunate that we have few of them. We have some like Nyameche is translated as God's gift. You have to name the baby in such a way that it will show some appreciation to God.
Perhaps gospel singers Esther Nyameche, Iraba Nyameche, and pastors Eric Nyameche of the Church of Pentecost, Efia Nyamesem, and Michael Bwedi Nyameche are reflective of their names.
Maybe with time, accounts will learn to generate more names from God, Onyame. By the way, my name is Emmanuel Kwesi Deborah. God is with you and Joy News will always be with you.
Unfortunately, we can't be with you right now. We just have to leave because we have to make way for our colleagues on Geek Squad. And you were questioning me about the God factor in my name. I can tell you with authority that the name Evans is an English baby name. In English, the meaning of the name Evans is son of Evan. Evan is a Welsh form of Hebrew John, meaning God has been gracious or God has shown favor.
Yeah? Beautiful name.
Nice.
Beautiful
That's it for
name.
News Night tonight. My name is
Evans. God has been gracious.
Absolutely. And hers is MFR Power.
The peace of God be with you. Geek Squad, they're up next. We're talking Samsung. Stay.